Now let me explain how we've structured the Moodle site. Each week we have a section in Moodle which introduces the students to that week's topic, and of course they're getting this the week prior to coming to class. Okay. Now there's a little introductory video in the Moodle site. And this introductory video is typically me for about 1 minute explaining, just in very broad sense, an overview of what is happening this week. Often within that video I'll be telling the students to look below me here because that's where your first lesson is for the week. Okay, so we direct students to that online lesson. That online lesson typically consists of 6 or 7 small videos of up to 10 minutes each. So typically around about 1 hour of video content. Interspersed throughout those videos, there are downloadable readings, journal articles, chapters from textbooks. And then after each video, there's also a self-check quiz. Just a simple little question. It's not actually accessible. It's just there for students to confirm that they have learnt the key concepts within each of those videos. Okay, so even though there's 1 hour of video content, students are typically spending 1.5 to 2 hours working their way through each of these online lessons. After they've completed the online lesson, they then answer a short multiple choice quiz that is accessible. Each week that's worth 1 mark towards their final result. Then after the quiz, there's a section in Moodle which highlights what's going to be happening in the workshop in that week. So students are getting this really logically structured progression every week through the Moodle site. Another important part of Moodle is feedback. Now, the formal feedback that we provide students. So, for example, early in the semester they have to submit an assignment as part of their assessment. It's a traditional essay. Now that is all online. We don't have paper-based essays. The essays are all submitted through Moodle. And we're using the Moodle rubric function to assess those essays and give students detailed feedback on a number of criteria. So students get their feedback and their results, and often that will open up some dialogue with us as well. So students are then able to contact the member of teaching staff that assessed their essay and engage further to seek further feedback if necessary. And of course there's informal feedback. As a result of the students engaging through Moodle each week, we're able to identify students at risk, and often we will be giving them feedback to let them know, hey, you really need to be addressing this issue, or maybe focusing more on the lessons that you seem to be ignoring at this stage. So they're getting that level of feedback as well. And each week in Moodle we have a number of key readings. Some of them are book chapters, some of them are journal articles. And this really provides students with, those that really want to extend themselves, that want to delve more deeply into some of the concepts. Those readings are there for them. As we've been moving more and more of our teaching and learning online, I've recognised there are other opportunities to really enhance the student experience through other online activities. And one area that I have been experimenting with a little bit lately is providing feedback to students through video. The ideal situation for me in providing feedback to students is to sit down with them one-on-one and have a conversation about the work they've submitted. But with a large unit, that's sometimes very difficult. We just don't have the time to do that. But what we do have the time to do is to create some personalised videos. So I've, in many situations, created a personalised feedback video for my students. As a marker, it's a joy to mark through video. Okay? Rather than having to sit there with a pen and paper, scrolling through a written assignment, and that takes a long time. It's incredibly frustrating when you hand assignments back to students and you just see them flip through them very quickly, look at the mark, close it, and then never look at it again. Whereas a video, I can actually address the student personally, tell them about the important issues about their essay or their assignment, what they did well, what needed improvement. It forces me to focus on the important issues, and it forces the students to then reflect on those important issues as well. It's received really well by students. More often than not, students, when they receive video feedback, will then contact me and keep the conversation going. They'll explain why they approached the assignment the way they did. They'll justify some of their mistakes. They'll recognise they made those mistakes. They'll then think further ahead as to what they will do different next time. So that video feedback has an incredibly profound impact on students. It can be really confronting giving negative or bad feedback to students. An assignment that's failed, for example, to actually eyeball a student through the camera and say to them, you haven't done very well in this assignment, can be incredibly difficult. It's amazing how that can be incredibly powerful through the use of body language, for example. Starting the video with a big sigh, letting the student know that it's really disappointing, this work that we've received, and letting them know really what they could have done better, how they could have improved. That has a huge impact, something that you really can't convey that level of emotion and that level of appeal through just the written word. What I see is the students often will watch the video a number of times. First time just to get the broad feel as to how their assignment was, and then second and subsequent views, they're then focusing on the detailed feedback within the video. They're listening to what they could have improved, how they can do better next time. And what they'll then typically do is then make contact with me. Arrange an appointment, come and sit down, and we'll keep that dialogue going. We'll talk in more detail about what they can do better next time. One of the great things about Moodle is that there's some incredible data that it generates. So I'm able to have a look at each student's activity through Moodle, both individually but also en masse, looking at the entire group of students. And I'm seeing a huge uptake of students actually now engaging with this material pre-class. In excess of 90% of my students are now doing the pre-class work prior to coming to their workshops each week. A huge improvement on what we used to see, where maybe only between 30 and 50% were coming along to the lectures. Okay, so Moodle gives us this insight into when and how and where and students are actually engaging with this online material. Having access to this data in Moodle allows me to do a couple of things. Firstly, I can diagnose problems, identify where students may be misunderstanding, but also I can then take action. So I can run reports and from that identify the at-risk students. And from that I can then take action. For example, normally around about week 3 or 4 of each semester, our Student Survival Week, it's a great time to, just before the census date, to make contact with the students that aren't actually progressing, that aren't actually committing themselves to doing the work each week, and remind them of the importance of working each week rather than waiting until the end of semester. And also pointing them towards areas that can help them, such as the learning skills area, or the Monash Uni counselling, or contact details for their tutors, so they can actually take action to address the problem. So we're catching them earlier rather than waiting until the end of semester when they become a casualty. We really couldn't do this without having a central hub such as Moodle to tie all of this together. Something I'd love to do, and hopefully future versions of Moodle will allow this, is to gamify Moodle, to actually award badges to students that are actually extending themselves, to really give them that virtual reward of a job well done. So that's something I have on my wish list of things to do and add to Moodle in the future.